This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9. Dallas Races Net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet?
No, I used the repeater earlier and haven't had anything to drink since.
This is KF5TDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this section of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Station priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, Was Up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll do the check-in honors, please.
Thank you, Miss Billy, and thank you for doing the net this evening. This is KE5ICX. I'll be at alternate net control station this evening. So we'll go ahead and take low-power short-time check-ins. If you're one of those, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're low-power or short-time. Please come now.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power, 5 watts.
This is WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, long time, Whiskey, Bravo 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India.
Okay, I got two. I've got W5GUS, that's Gus in far northeast Dallas, low power. He's only at 5 watts. I got WB4MFI, that's Ted in Dallas, low power, a long time. Do I have any additional low power short time check-ins? Please come now. Okay, short check-ins on the low-power short time. Do either of you have anything you want to bring to the net this evening now, in the present time? Please come with your call. Hearing none, we will go to general check-ins. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting. General check-ins, please come now.
N5BB, Bill and Irving.
Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, J, or whatever.
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Dallas.
This is Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Okay, we'll stop there and I will go ahead and acknowledge the check-ins. I got N5BB, Bill Irving, KG5BZW, that's Jay near Weatherford. I got KBLD, Randy in Rolette, K5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch, K5JJ, that would be Chaz in Mesquite. I must have let him out early today. WE50ZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. KG5UFR, that's James, I believe, in Dallas. James, did I get your name right? I'm sorry.
Well, good evening. This is KG5UFR. The name is Jacob, Juliet Alpha, Charlie Oscar Bravo. But it's okay, I get James and Jason quite often. But no, it's Jacob. Back to that control, KG5UFR.
All right, my apologies, Jacob. I should have asked on your call sign if the name was correct, and I mixed it up. KG5UFR, that's Jacob in Dallas. Thank you for checking in. I got AA5AH, Robert in Richardson. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us for Skynet, please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
This is November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay in Mesquite.
Slow on the check-ins tonight, but I got some of the prime folks. I got KG5, W Victor Lima, that's James in Carrollton. I got November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, that's Clay in Mesquite. Any additional over-air before I move over to Echolink, because they're really cool. So any over-air, please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
Kilo 5, Bravo Whiskey Charlie, Albert, North Fort Worth.
Well, I eked out another one. I got Albert, K5BWC over in North Fort Worth. Thanks you, Albert, for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and move over to Echolink. If you're on Echolink and you've not checked in yet, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from, and I will add you to the list. Echolink only, and I will give you extra time because I think you need extra time. Please go ahead.
Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly in Matagorda Bay, South Texas.
Joe in Arlington.
right, I've got Kelly, K5KTX. She's in Monterey Bay, Texas, I guess. Could be, where is that? Out in the Caribbean somewhere. I've also got KG5ZMG, that's Joe in Arlington, and I got K5JDW, John, over in Norman. They say the audio is low. I haven't changed anything. I can probably boost it a little bit because I got Echolink here. But we'll see. Not Monterey. Montagorda. Montagorda, Texas. Well, I was close. I missed a few vowels, but I got you. All right, I got you in there, Miss Kelly, and then John, K5JDW. I'll go ahead and open it up. I think everybody else is spoken for on, well, maybe everybody. We'll see here. Anyone else on Echolink would like to join us? Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
All right, I'm not on Echolink, but this is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall.
All right, if you don't pay attention to Echolink in the chat, it's quite fascinating. I've got Rich, KG5PM, over in Rockwall, and then I was told Kelly says it's Matagorda Bat. I think she means Bay. Then she says Bay again. Okay. And Chaz says Spica. Because I mispronounced Spica long ago. 10 years ago I mispronounced it as Spica. It's Spica. And then he jabs the thing in the side of, he jabs his finger into the left side of my body. Okay, very good. I'll open it up to anybody who'd like to check in. Anybody, anywhere. Please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. This is Skynet. Wow, this is really slow tonight. Well, I hope you enjoyed the weather today, even though it wasn't much. But let's see. But it was warmer than it was. So let's see here. I'll go ahead and send it back to our net control. We have 19 check-ins so far. We need more back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome to all who have checked in on Skynet. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, let's to general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If so, please come now with your call sign. Hearing any, so I'll go ahead with a few announcements of my own. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. time. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. Dallas AMSATnet East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz, with a PL tone of 129. Tom N5HYP is net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so there's no East on that Tuesday night. Dallas AMSAT-Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The ARC hosts several nets on Monday nights. The first Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's Net. This is a net where recipes are shared. If you have a question about food, anecdote, have a recipe to share, join us for Ham Fixin's Net. The second month is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. Come back on the for a second helping of Ham Fixin's Net. Monday is GeekNet. This Monday is a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation encouraged. On Tuesdays, AMSAT East, 8 p.m., question and answers, info, and news for amateur satellites. Fridays is CERT City simulation at 7:30 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday at CERT City. All are welcome. And Saturdays is the Night of Nets with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. and, of course, at 9 p.m., Skynet. The first and third Sundays is Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. Daily is Lunch Bunch at 12 noon, Monday through Friday. There's always a survey question. Eat lunch with us. ARRLNet National Traffic System Training Net is every night at 6 p.m. Central Time. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And following Skynet at 10:30 p.m. On Saturdays is the Afterglow Movie Net. So on this net, we pick a movie to watch. We watch it at our convenience during the week, and then we convene at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night to discuss the movie. So join us after Skynet at 10:30 for the Afterglow Movie Net. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you will give us tonight's Afterglow info.
Thank you, Miss Billy, and this is KE5ICX. And tonight's Afterglow Movie Net, somewhere around 10:30 p.m., is this. Roger stared down the shampoo bottle. He knew something was wrong with it, but he wasn't sure what. He did know it was installed. He knew that... I can't even read my own writing. He did know it had installed a tripwire while he was at work, and when he returned home, he tumbled to the floor just as his foot collided with the tripwire. In the corner, he noticed the instructions to repeat. The cleaning process was missing, and that was disturbing. Another thing bothered him. He noticed the shaving cream was a little closer to the shampoo bottle and the medicine cabinet. He swore he saw them talking, pointing, and most disturbingly, plotting against him. It was only a matter of time before all his home beauty products turned, well, ugly. Join us for another one of those weird SF films. This time, only our second animated full-length film. It's true. The Denmark English language production, no dubbing, no remember, Metropia, from 2009, tonight at 10:30 p.m., and it takes place in the distant future, 2024. Back to net control. This is KE5I6.
Thank you very much, Tom. And you can keep up with all DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, at this time we'll move on to Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So if anyone has any announcements about Texas Astronomical Society, please come now with your call sign.
KF5JHA. That would be Kilo Foxtrot 5 Juliet Hotel Alpha.
KA5JHA. Good evening, Chaz. What information do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Billy. The last Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting was last night, and you missed it if you weren't there. It was at 7:30. The featured speaker was Dr. Erin McDonald, and her topic was the physics of Star Trek. We learned about cloaking devices and beaming in and out and photons and, well, all sorts of different things. Okay, so the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be on Friday, May the 28th at 7:30. Actually, the featured speaker is going to be a committee, the Dark Side Committee. We're going to talk all about the stuff going on up of our Atoka Dark Side, and I guess there's several different things they're going to present. The club members will receive an email about a few days before the in advance of the meeting. Hopefully later this year, TAS will be able to resume having face-to-face meetings, and maybe we can resume having public observing sessions. If you want more information, go to texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details. This is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Billy, that would be KF5 PDS.
Thank you very much, Chaz. All right, next up is, does anyone else have any news from Texas Astronomical Society? Next up is National Space Society events and activities. At this time, I will turn the net over to Bill, N5BB, if you'll give us information about the National Space Society.
Hi, Billy. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director of the local North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. If you have any questions about the National Space Society or joining our chapter, you can send me an email at N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net, or space@byrom.net, SPACE at BYROM.net. Our normal local chapter meetings for North Texas are on the second Sunday of every month. Currently, we've still been meeting virtually. And to the best of my knowledge, we will be meeting virtually on WebEx in May. Our last meeting was a virtual meeting on April the 11th. We meet on the second Sunday afternoon of every month at 4 p.m. And our April meeting the presenter was Brandon Lloyd, who is a new flight director at NASA Johnson Spacecraft Center in Houston. And that was very interesting. Our next meeting, probably virtual, will be on Sunday, May the 9th at 4 p.m. And I do not yet know the topic. So if you have any interest, send me an email, and I'll get you a guest pass for that virtual meeting. Of course, we've had very exciting things going on in manned spacecraft and unmanned manned spacecraft recently, with the Ingenuity helicopter making 2 test runs successfully on Mars, and with yesterday morning the SpaceX launch of 4 crew members to the International Space Station, and early this morning local time they docked and with the ISS. So things are going really good there. I believe that probably 4 astronauts will return to Earth from the ISS on Wednesday of this week. Right now, the ISS has a lot of astronauts there. It's either 10 or 11, I think. So they're having to temporarily use some kind of sleeping bag sleeping arrangements. They don't have enough regular beds for everybody. Lots of things going on with manned spacecraft. N5BB. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bill. Yeah, it's nice to see the ISS have a full house. And I was up this morning in the wee hours watching the docking, so it was really awesome sight to see. So if you get a chance, go watch the replay on the NASA channel. It's really awesome to see those, and also to listen to the press conferences before and after, because you do learn a lot from those, and I enjoy seeing and hearing the excitement in the SpaceX and in Mission Control in Houston. It's really awesome to watch those launches and dockings. All right, next up is NCS topic of the evening. So my topic tonight is what are Lagrange points? Just a little bit about the man himself. Joseph Louis Lagrange was born in Italian as Giuseppe Luigi Lagrange, and he was born in Turin, Italy, January 25th, 36, and he died at age 77, April 10th, 1813 in Paris, France. And he is known for making significant contributions to the fields of analysis, number theory, and both classical and celestial mechanics. So my topic this evening are, what are Lagrange points? So Lagrange points are positions in space where the gravitational forces of a two-body system like the Sun and the Earth produce enhanced regions of attraction and repulsion. These can be used by spacecraft as parking spots in space to remain in a fixed position with minimal fuel consumption. So this information comes to us from solarsystem.nasa.gov. There are 5 special points where a small mass can orbit in a constant pattern with 2 larger masses. The Lagrange points are positions where the gravitational pull of 2 large masses precisely equals the centripetal force required for a small object to move with them. This mathematical problem, known as the general three-body problem, was considered by Lagrange in his prize-winning paper Essai sur le Calcul in 1972. The 5 Lagrange points, 3 are unstable and 2 are stable. The unstable Lagrange points, labeled L1, L2, and L3, lie along the line connecting the 2 large masses. The stable Lagrange points, labeled L4 and L5, form the apex of 2 equilateral triangles that have the large masses at their vertices. L4 leads the orbit of Earth, and L5 follows. The L1 point Sun system affords an uninterrupted view of the Sun, home to the solar and heliospheric observatory satellite, SOHO. The L2 point of the Earth-Sun system was the home to the WMAP spacecraft, current home of Planck, and future home of the James Webb Space Telescope, which should be launching around October of this year. L2 is ideal for astronomy because a spacecraft is close enough to readily communicate with Earth, can keep Sun, Earth, and Moon behind the spacecraft for solar power, and with appropriate shielding, provides a clear view of deep space for our telescopes. The L1 and L2 points are unstable on a timescale of approximately 23 days, which requires satellites orbiting these positions to undergo course and attitude corrections. NASA is unlikely to find any use for the L3 point since it remains hidden behind the Sun at all times. The idea of a hidden Planet X at the L3 point has been a popular topic in science fiction writing. The instability of Planet X's orbit on a timescale of 150 years didn't stop Hollywood from turning out classics like The Man from Planet X. Hey, that sounds like it'd be a great afterglow movie if we haven't already done it. L4 and L5 points are home to stable orbits so long as the mass ratio between the two large masses exceeds 24.96. This condition is satisfied for both the Earth-Sun and Earth-Moon systems and for many other pairs of bodies in the solar system. Found orbiting at the L4 and L5 points are often called Trojans after the three large asteroids, Agamemnon, Achilles, and Hector, that orbit in the L4 and L5 points of the Jupiter-Sun system. According to Homer, Hector was the Trojan champion slain by Achilles during King Agamemnon's siege of Troy. There are hundreds of Trojan asteroids in the solar system. Most orbit with Jupiter, but others orbit with Mars. In addition, several of Saturn's moons have Trojan companions. In 1956, the Polish astronomer Kordylewski discovered large concentrations of dust at the Trojan points of the Earth-Moon system. The Deerby instrument on the COBE satellite confirmed earlier IRAS observations of a dust ring following Earth's orbit around the Sun. The existence of this ring is closely related to the Trojan point, but the story is complicated by the effects of radiation pressure on the dust grains. In 2010, NASA's WISE telescope finally confirmed the first Trojan asteroid, 2010 TK7, around Earth's leading Lagrange point. The easiest way to understand Lagrange points is to adopt a frame of reference that rotates with the system. The forces exerted on a body at rest in this frame can be derived from an effective potential in much the same way that wind speeds can be inferred from a weather map. The forces are strongest when the contours of the effective potential are closest together and weakest when the contours are far apart. And on the website, there is a contour plot of the effective potential, not drawn to scale, but there's a great NASA contour plot on this website. In the above contour plot, we see that L4 and L5 correspond to hilltops, and L1, L2, and L3 correspond to saddles. In other words, points where the potential is curving up in one direction and down in the other. This suggests that satellites, the Lagrange points, will have a tendency to wander off. Try sitting a marble on top of a watermelon or on top of a real saddle and you get the idea. But when a satellite parked at L4 or L5 starts to roll off the hill, it picks up speed. At this point, the Coriolis force comes into play, the same force that causes hurricanes to spin up on the Earth, and sends the satellite into a stable orbit around the Lagrange point. So there you have a great article from solarsystem.nasa.gov on what are Lagrange points. Also a couple of interesting source links on the website, the Lagrange points NASA Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe, or WMAP. There's a link to that, and there's also a download to the 1998 original handout with mathematical equations by Neil J. Cornish. Check those out on the website for more information. This is KFI PBS. Billy, your net control for this session, ARC Skynet.
This is KE5ICXM alternate net control. I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, the last station, you have no audio. You want to try again? Make sure your mic's plugged in or something. You have a good carrier, but no audio. Try again.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Sorry about that.
All right, very good. I've got KB9SOK. That's Sean over in Fort Worth. And then I have also picked up Joe, KG5ZMG. He's somewhere, I think, in the Dallas area. He had trouble getting into Echolink. I'm not sure why, but that sometimes happens. I got Ahmet over at Brookhaven campus and Lily at Brookhaven campus. Thank you both for checking in. So we're up to 23 check-ins right now. Let's see if net control is back. Something. And Billy, KF5PDS, are you there from KE5ICX?
I'm here. I'm not sure what happened. All of a sudden, I had pressed transmit, but the dial wasn't moving, and so I got off of it, and then there was button, so I'm not sure what happened. But yeah, all I was going to ask was I was going to turn it over to you to take check-ins. So you read my mind. So awesome. All right, and copy that we have 23 check-ins so far. All right, next up is Was Up. So at this time, I will turn that over to Chaz, KF5JHA, if you'll let us know Was Up.
Thank you, Billy. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics, and I'm the astrophysics lab manager at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. And we call this segment of Skynet Was Up. Slide number 2, please, slide changer. That would be Tom. Thank you very much. On April the 24th, looking low in the western evening sky. By the way, that was today, wasn't it? If it was clear enough, it wasn't clear enough here. You could have found Venus and Mercury in conjunction. Tomorrow night, they'll still be close enough together. Venus will be the brighter object and will be on the left. Mercury will be on the right and dimmer. So I hope it's clear enough tomorrow night. Slide number 3. On May the 4th, in the early morning sky, you can see the conjunction of the Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn. Slide number 4. On the same day, but in the evening sky, you can observe the planet Mercury next to the star cluster, the Pleiades. That's going to be an interesting thing to see. Slide number 5, please. Back in 1986, did you see Comet Halley or Halley? Did you or didn't you? Well, it doesn't matter. You could have seen it back then, but you can now see it at the beginning of May. Well, at least small parts of the comet. See, when Comet Halley travels in its orbit, it leaves small bits of debris. These small bits of debris, sometimes no bigger than a grain of sand, orbit the sun. In the early part of May, each year, the Earth runs through this debris cloud. These particles run into the Earth's atmosphere so hard, so fast that they burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. This is the reason for the Eta Aquariid meteor shower. The Eta Aquariid meteor shower peaks on the night of May the 5th and 6th, with on an average of about 55 meteors per hour. Or, in other words, about 1 meteor per minute. Now, that's if you're away from the city lights. More meteors can be seen in the morning sky, the hour just before morning twilight. So get up early on May the 6th rather than staying late on May the 5th. But wait, inside the city, you might only see a dozen meteors in an hour because of light pollution. This year, the moon is a couple of days past third quarter on the morning of the meteor shower peak, so you could start observing around midnight and stop observing when the moon rises. Inside the city, as I said before, you might only see one every 10 minutes or so. The Texas state parks are now open again for overnight camping. So go out as far, far away from the city lights as you can to a Texas state park to watch the meteors. You can see many more meteors underneath the dark skies of the Texas State Park. By the way, the Orion meteor shower that we see in October is also caused by the debris of Comet Halley. Hang on a second, I have a catastrophe. The catastrophe was a cat wanting outside, sorry. Okay, slide number 6, please. On the night of May the 8th and 9th, the 8th Lyrid meteor shower will peak. Far away from the city lights, you might see a handful of meteors in an hour observing. Slide number 7, on April the 20th, the moon was at its first quarter. That was a few days ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. On April the 26th, the moon will be full. That's only in a couple of days. On April the 27th, the moon will be at its perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit which is closest to the Earth. On May the 3rd, the moon will be at its third quarter. And on May the 11th, the moon will be new. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 8, please. Last week I started a tour of the constellations that are visible in the evening sky. I want to continue with that tour tonight. Last week I ended with Ursa Major, which has the Big Dipper inside of it, and Ursa Minor, which has the Little Dipper as part of it. The Big Dipper can be used to help us find many other constellations. So, it's a very good place to start. Did you see what I did there? Now, looking high in the northern sky, you can find the Big Dipper, which is part of the constellation of Ursa Major, the Big Bear. The Big Dipper is an asterism, in other words, a part of a constellation usually. Right now, the Big Bear and the Big Dipper are upside down. I told you last week, it's always upside down in the evening sky in the spring, and that's why it rained so much like it did yesterday. Yeah, okay, because of all the water dumping out of the Dipper. Slide number 9, let's take a look at the handle of the Big Dipper. It is curved. Another name for a curve is an arc. So, if we follow the curve or arc, we run into the bright star called Arcturus. So we arc to Arcturus. Slide number 10, please. Arcturus is the brightest star in the constellation of Boötes, the shepherd. I think it looks more like a kite that's on its side than a shepherd. Some people think it looks like a single scoop ice cream cone. We'll find another scoop of ice cream that has fallen off the cone in just a few minutes. Slide number 11, please. If we continue our arc past Arcturus, we run into Spica. Wonder why I had a thing in the chat station about Spica. Okay, so we arc to Arcturus, and then we go on to Spica. Slide number 12. Spica is the brightest star in the constellation of Virgo, the Maiden. The constellation Virgo is famous for its professionals and amateur astronomers alike for having lots of close-by galaxies. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is part of a supercluster of galaxies called the Virgo supercluster. Through a telescope, you can often view 2 or 3 or even more galaxies in a single field of view in this area. During the Messier Marathon, we've talked about that in the past, you can get about 20% of the Messier objects in and close to the constellation of Virgo. Slide number 13, please. Going back to Boötes and looking just below it, you can see a semicircle of stars, the Northern Crown, also known as Corona Borealis. The word corona means crown, so the atmosphere around the sun is called a corona because it looks like a crown. And the ring of material around a certain virus looks like a crown, and now you know where the coronavirus gets its name. Borealis means north, so you probably have heard of the Aurora Borealis, which is the northern light. Aurora means light. So back to our constellation, Corona Borealis. A crown that's light? Oh, a northern crown. In the middle of the semicircle of stars can be found the brightest star in the constellation called Gemma or Gemma, the gem star of the crown. Also, Corona Borealis could be the second scoop of ice cream that has fallen off the ice cream cone of Bootes. Slide number 14, please. Below Corona Borealis, the northern crown, you can find the constellation of Hercules just rising in the northeastern sky. The center of the constellation is a group of 4 stars that form a keystone. When you build a stone arch, the top center stone is called the keystone. On the western side of Hercules' keystone, you can find the most observed Messier objects, or one of them, called M13. It's a wonderful globular cluster of stars, easily found by most observers. I'll mention another globular cluster here a little bit later on. Slide number 15, please. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Remember that the Texas Astronomical Society Club meeting, the next one will be on Friday, May the 28th, 7:30. It'll be about our dark site that we have, an observatory and roll-off roof observatories where you can take a look through telescopes and all sorts of things. The TAS Club members, once again, will receive a link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting. Hopefully we'll have some face-to-face meetings later this year and public observing sessions. I can't wait till we get back to that. TexasAstro.org is where you can find up-to-date information. Slide number 16, please. I want to welcome from Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus that are listening and watching Skynet, probably either on YouTube or Facebook tonight. Students, this is the last night that you can get your stargazing class credit for this. From this point on, you'll have to do some other work if you want to get your stargazing class credit, but you've got to fill out the form on eCampus by answering those 10 questions, and do it within the next 48 hours if you want to get credit for tonight's stargazing credit. Now, do any of you out there in Radioland have any questions or need a fill on any information, or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question.
W5GUS.
You know, Gus, it's really hard to remember your name with your call sign. Hey, Gus, what's your question?
Well, W5GUS here. Hi, Chaz. I really liked your way of remembering the dipper upside down and the spring for the rain. Very clever. And I was wondering if you have something similar to that for apogee and perigee. I always confuse which is which, closest part of the orbit or farther. Is there some kind of a trick like that to remember apogee and perigee? W5GUS.
Gus, that's a wonderful question. In fact, I do have a little thing to remember that. Okay, imagine the Mavericks, and you get tickets courtside. Wow, you're so close you can peer right at them. Okay, perigee, okay. Oh, wait, they were really not the tickets on the court. They were way up in the nosebleed section. So you got those tickets, and you were appalled because it was so far away. Apogee. That's how I remember it, and that's how I teach the students. They seem to remember it that way. Gus, does that help you? KF5JJ.
Well, it certainly does. That's a great idea. Yeah, usually when I go, I'm in the apogee section. So, but it's still a good game. Thanks, Chaz. Back to Ned, W5GUS.
Well, all of us on Skynet like basketball because they have nets too. Okay. Number 17, please. As the moon waned during the first part of April, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next week, keep looking up so you know what's up. Actually, I'll be back with another segment here in a little bit. This is KF5JJ. My name is Chaz. Back to our net control, Billy. KF5EDS.
Thanks, Chaz, for filling us in on What's Up. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is space exploration and space history. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Kelly, K5KTX. The net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. This is K5KTX. Good evening to everyone. Well, last Monday, NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter became the first aircraft in history to make a powered, controlled flight on another planet. The Ingenuity team at the agency's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California confirmed the flight succeeded after receiving data from the helicopter via NASA's Perseverance Mars rover at 5:46 a.m. Central Daylight Time. The solar-powered helicopter first became airborne at 2:34 a.m. Central Daylight at 12:33 local mean solar time, or Mars time, a time that the Ingenuity team determined would have optimal energy and flight conditions. Altimeter data indicate Ingenuity climbed to its prescribed maximum altitude of 10 feet and maintained a stable hover for 30 seconds. It then descended, touching back down on the surface of Mars after logging a total of 39.1 seconds of flight. Additional details on the test are expected in upcoming downlinks. Ingenuity's initial flight demonstration was autonomous, piloted by onboard guidance, navigation, and control systems running algorithms developed by the team at JPL. Because data must be sent to and returned from the Red Planet over hundreds of millions of miles using orbiting satellites and NASA's Deep Space Network, Ingenuity cannot be flown with a joystick, and its flight was not observable from Earth in real time. The Martian airfield on which the flight took place was named Wright Brothers Field in recognition of the ingenuity and innovation that continue to propel exploration. The helicopter successfully completed its second Mars flight on Thursday, April the 22nd, the 18th sol or Martian day of the experimental flight test window. Lasting 51.9 seconds, the flight added several new challenges to the first, including a higher maximum altitude, longer duration, and sideways movement. Ingenuity took off again at 4:33 a.m. Central, or 12:33 p.m. local Mars time. Ingenuity climbed to 16 feet this time. After the helicopter hovered briefly, its flight control system performed a slight 5-degree tilt, allowing some of the thrust from the counter-rotating rotors to accelerate the craft sideways for 7 feet. The helicopter came to a stop, hovered in place, and made turns to point its camera in different directions. Then it headed back to the center of the airfield to land. Operating an aircraft in a controlled manner at Mars is far more difficult than flying one on Earth. Even though gravity on Mars is about 1/3 that of Earth, the helicopter must fly with the assistance of an atmosphere with only about 1% of the density at Earth's surface. Each second of flight provides an abundance of Mars in-flight data for comparison to the modeling, simulations, and tests performed back here on Earth. And NASA also gains its first practical experience operating a rotorcraft remotely at Mars. These data sets will prove invaluable for potential future Mars missions that could enlist next-generation helicopters to add an aerial dimension to their explorations. Because the data and imagery indicate that the Mars helicopter not only survived the second flight, but also flew as anticipated, the Ingenuity team is considering how best to expand the profiles of its next flights to acquire additional aeronautical data from the first successful flight test on another world. By the way, if you have not seen the videos of the flights that were captured by the Perseverance rover, you definitely want to go out to the NASA YouTube channel and look for that. It's pretty amazing. And staying with Perseverance on Mars, the growing list of firsts for Perseverance, NASA's newest six-wheeled robot on the Martian surface includes converting some of the red planet's thin, carbon dioxide-rich atmosphere into oxygen. A toaster-sized experimental instrument aboard Perseverance called the Mars Oxygen Institute Resource Utilization Experiment, or MOXIE, accomplished the task. The test took place on April the 20th, the 60th Martian day or so since the mission landed February the 18th. While the technology demonstration is just getting started, it could pave the way for science fiction to become science fact, isolating and storing oxygen on Mars to help power rockets that could lift astronauts off the planet's surface. Such devices also might one day provide breathable air for astronauts themselves. To burn its fuel, a rocket must have more oxygen by weight. To get 4 astronauts off of the Martian surface on a future mission would require approximately 15,000 pounds of rocket fuel and 55,000 pounds of oxygen. In contrast, astronauts living and working on Mars would require far less oxygen to breathe. The astronauts who spend a year on the surface will maybe use 1 metric ton between them. Hauling 25 metric tons of oxygen from Earth to Mars would be an arduous task. Transporting a 1-ton oxygen converter, a larger, more powerful descendant of MOXIE that could produce those 25 tons, would be far more economical and practical. In this first operation, MOXIE's oxygen production was quite modest, about 5 grams, equivalent to about 10 minutes worth of breathable oxygen for an astronaut. MOXIE is designed to generate up to 10 grams of oxygen per hour. In space history this week, April the 18th, back in 2014, NASA's Lunar Atmosphere and Dust Environment Explorer, also known as LADEE, ended its mission by crashing into the moon. LADEE had spent 7 months orbiting the moon and studying its exosphere. The exosphere is a thin layer of gas that's kind of like an atmosphere, but the molecules are more spread out and are definitely not breathable. LADEE conducted a lunar dust experiment in which it collected and analyzed the dust particles floating around in the exosphere. This experiment was intended to help NASA solve the mystery behind the faint glow Apollo astronauts reported seeing on the lunar horizon. LADEE discovered neon in the exosphere, but it wasn't enough to account for the glow, and the mystery remains unsolved. When LADEE ran out of fuel, NASA intentionally crashed it into the lunar surface. It was traveling 3,600 miles per hour during the crash and created a crater almost 10 feet wide. On April the 19th, back in 1971, the Soviet Union launched the world's first space station, Salyut-1. This space station was a modified version of the Soviet Union's Almaz space station, which was part of a highly classified military program and was still under development at the time. After NASA managed to put astronauts on the moon, the Soviet Union decided that its next big feat in the space race would be to put a crewed space station in orbit. The first crew to visit Salyut-1 in orbit launched just 4 days after the space station did. However, that crew had some technical problems while trying to dock with the space station in their Soyuz 10 spacecraft, so they went back home without ever actually entering the station. Another crew launched about 2 months later on the Soyuz 11 mission, and after a successful docking, they spent 23 days aboard the station. However, during the Soyuz 11 crew's return to Earth, a pressure valve on the spacecraft opened early during their descent. The 3 crew members died during re-entry as a result. Salyut-1 remained in orbit until October 11, 1971, when flight controllers commanded the station's engines to fire and intentionally crashed it into the Pacific Ocean. The world's first space station spent 175 days in orbit during its mission lifetime. And incredibly, I think that's 31 years ago today, April the 24th, 1990, the STS-31, or Discovery Space Shuttle, launched on the Hubble Space Telescope deployment mission The pilot on that mission was astronaut Charlie Bolden, who served as NASA's administrator from 2009 to 2017. Bold promises were made about the potential of the Hubble to peer into the depths of space. However, in the weeks after deployment, the Hubble team detected a big problem. Hubble's primary mirror was too shallow towards its outer edges by about 2 microns, a fraction of the width of a human hair. Nevertheless, this slight defect prevented Hubble from achieving the crisp images that were promised. After careful research and exacting preparation, another shuttle mission was launched to repair and improve the telescope. STS-61 was launched December 2, 1993, on one of the most complex missions of the shuttle program. The first images were received from the newly serviced Hubble on December 18, 1993, and the results were perfect, a crystal clear image of a star. Thanks to this ingenious repair, and several more that followed, Hubble continues to relay miraculous images of the depths of space. And finally tonight, in Astronaut Birthdays, we have one from April the 20th, 1955, your and my favorite astronaut, Don Pettit, who was part of Expedition 6, STS-126, and Expedition 30 and 31. And that's all I've got this evening. This is K5 KTX. Back to you, Billy.
Thank you, Kelly. This is KF5 PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. At this time, I'm going to turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do another check-in round, and then after that, you have my permission to turn it over to Chaz for the Constellation of the Week. So this is to KE5ICX from KF5 PDS.
Thank you, Miss Billy. This is KE5ICX. My name's Tom. I'll continue check-ins now. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Do we have anyone over on Echolink?
KF5 GBC, Chris and Godly.
You have Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Tom, this is Chaz. I believe that Chris, KI5GBT, I think was trying to check in while you were transmitting. Chris, come now if you were trying to check in on Skynet.
Yeah, just checking in. No traffic.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I see that you've got him on Echolink. Okay, once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA, and slide number 18, please. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations visible from Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week. So, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Centaurus, the Centaur. The constellation Centaurus represents the centaur, Chiron, from Greek mythology. Chiron was the leader of the centaurs, a race of half-man, half-horse creatures In mythology, the centaurs had a reputation of savagery, but Centron was a noble exception. I quote from the Star Lore Handbook. He was wise and benevolent, taught humans many arts and skills, and is credited with the design of the constellation figures themselves. That's kind of interesting. Okay, slide number 19. This is the reason why all of you have stuck around, the jokes of the week. So there's a centaur walking around in a hazmat suit. How would you finish that? He's from the Centaurs for Disease Control. What do you get if you cross a human and a centaur? Now, this is a math problem. So, the centaur is half human, and with a human, you get a quarter horse. Get it? Billy can explain it to you later. So, a centaur walks into a bar. Oh, this is a good one, isn't it? The bartender says, "Hey, how's your sore throat?" The centaur replies, "My throat isn't hoarse, but my legs are." These are not that good, are they? What do you call a talkative man horse? A centaur of attention. And the final one for this evening. Oh, yeah, I see you out there applauding. Yeah, what is this clapping over here on Echolink anyway? Why did the centaur never get a singing career? Why didn't he get a singing career? He was always somewhat hoarse. Slide number 20, please. So how do you find Centaurus? Let's start with something that I've already talked about, Virgo. It has a bright star called Spica. If you just go south, down from Spica, you will run into the constellation of Centaurus. Slide number 21, please. Alpha Centauri, proper name for Alpha Centauri is Rigel Centaurus, which the meaning is Centaur's foot. It's derived from the star's position in the constellation. Alpha Centauri is not visible from Dallas. It's too far south to be seen from this latitude. However, it is theoretically visible from Brownsville, Texas, transiting at about 3.4 degrees above the southern horizon. Alpha Centauri is a triple star system and is famous for being the closest star system to the Sun at only 4.34 light years away. It is the third brightest star of the sky seen from the Earth at only magnitude 0.27. Sirius and Canopus are only the two that appear brighter. Slide number 22. The system consists of Alpha Centauri A, B, and C, with Alpha A and B being a close pair that can be split with amateur telescopes. These two stars are similar in size to the Sun, and they have an orbital period of about 80 years, with a true distance between them varying from 11 to about 35 astronomical units. It is the star's trinary system that stands out in the place of the Astronomical League Southern Skies Observing Club. Component A is a yellow G2 type star, similar to the Sun, and component B is a yellow-orange K1 star. Alpha Centauri C is also known as Proxima Centauri, a red dwarf star, and it is slightly nearer to us than the bright AB pair, making it the closest individual star to our solar system, to our Sun. It orbits around the AB pair at a distance about 1 trillion miles, giving it a long orbital period about 500,000 years. It shines at 11th magnitude, so it should be visible from a southern sky site with a 3-inch or larger telescope. Slide number 23, please. Proxima Centauri, in other words, the closest star to us, is known to have at least one planet orbiting around it, known as Proxima Centauri b, making it the closest known exoplanet, meaning outside of our solar system planet. It was discovered using the radial velocity method where periodic Doppler shifts of the spectral lines of the host star suggest an orbiting object. The discovery of Proxima Centauri b was announced in August of 2016 by the European Southern Observatory. The exoplanet's exact mass has not yet been determined, but it's believed to be somewhere between 1 to 3 times the mass of the Earth. So it's not a giant planet like Jupiter. It orbits Proxima Centauri at a distance of 4.6 million miles, and it only has an orbital period of about 11 Earth days. Wow. From Proxima Centauri b, or indeed from anywhere in the Alpha Centauri triple star system, the Earth's sun would appear as a bright 0.4 magnitude star in the constellation of Cassiopeia, near the Cassiopeia-Perseus border, not too far from the double cluster. And we've talked about the double cluster before. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 24, please. Beta Centauri is also known as Hadar, or Agena. Hadar is the Arabic word for the ground, which derives the fact from in ancient times Beta Centauri was always close to the horizon when it was visible. Beta Centauri is not visible from Dallas, and again, it's theoretically, yeah, say that 3 times in a row, theoretically visible from Brownsville, transiting at 3.8 degrees above the southern horizon. Beta Centauri is a blue-white B1 star, similar to Rigel in the constellation of Orion. It is about 490 light years in distance, and it shines at a magnitude of 0.66, making it the 10th brightest star in the sky. Beta Centauri itself is a double star, having a magnitude of 4 companion that is difficult to split because it's only a 1.3 arc seconds from the primary. Beta Centauri forms a wide angle pair of stars, 4.5 degrees apart, from Alpha Centauri. Draw a line from Alpha Centauri through Beta Centauri, and it points right to the nearby crux, the Southern Cross. And one more star to talk about, T-Tauri Centauri is a variable star. It varies over a 90-day period of time from a magnitude of 5.5 at its brightest to around 9th magnitude at its faintest. T Centauri is easily visible from the latitude of Dallas, as it is in the northern part of the constellation. Slide number 25, please. Omega Centauri, also known as NGC 5139, is the famous globular cluster of the southern sky. Omega is widely believed to be the largest, brightest, and probably the closest of all the globular clusters surrounding the Milky Way. From clear dark skies, Omega can easily be seen with the naked eye as it shines around magnitude 3.7. Assuming you were far enough south to see it, the Texas Star Party, held in the Prude Ranch in Fort Davis, Texas, is a great location to see Omega Centauri. I've seen it myself there several times. Or if you go to the Davis Mountain State Park, which is almost right across the street from the Prude Ranch, and also the Big Bend National Park, or even the Big Bend State Park. Omega can be seen by TASS observing site in Atoka, Oklahoma, that far north. Walter Scott Houston, a longtime columnist for the Deep Sky Wonders column in Sky and Telescope magazine, surmises that it would be at least be theoretically visible from locations such as New York City, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and San Francisco. Houston wrote of sightings from Bird City, isn't that appropriate, Kelly? Bird City, Kansas, which is at 39 degrees 45 minutes, Pittsburgh, and even parts of California, near the California-Oregon border. Houston himself saw it from his home in East Hadman, Connecticut. Wow, that's pretty far north. Slide number 26, please. Centaurus A, also known as NGC 5128, is sometimes called the Hamburger Galaxy, though that nickname also appears to be more often used in NGC 3628. In Leo, we talked about that. It was a member of the Leo trio. Again, we recently talked about that. It's about 5 degrees due north of Omega Centauri, so it's believed to be able to be seen from Dallas. It shines at a magnitude of 6.7, So does Hubble in binoculars. Stephen J. O'Meara notes that NGC 5128 is the most dynamic and intriguing galaxy in the heavens. It is virtually a superlative in every region of the electromagnetic spectrum. It is, by far, the nearest and most violent Seyfert-type galaxy known, and is one of the most intense radio sources in the heavens, and is a wellspring of infrared, X-ray, and gamma ray radiation. Wow. Slide number 27. And this is KF5JHA. My name is Chaz, and this is Skynet. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects in this constellation of Centaurus, the Centaur. I've given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 70, in fact, I think I counted 72 or 73 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month throughout the year, then you can actually earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. Slide number 28, and that is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, Centaurus, the Centaur. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Horwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and usually stolen for tonight and almost every night. And also at times I use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, I'm going to be absent the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure if somebody's going to pick up the slack, but the next time I'm here in about 3 weeks, Crater the Cup and Corvus the Crow will be on my list to take a look at. And this is KF5 JHA, back to our net control Billy, KF5 PDS. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Chaz. Love the constellation of the week. All right, we're starting to run a little low on time, so I'm going to skip over space launches of the week. I just want to I'll make quick mention of how you can look at Space Coast launches. You can go to www.spacecoastlaunches.com, and you can also go to spaceflightnow.com to see the Spaceflight Now launch schedule. A couple of big ones that are coming up on April 25th. There's the Soyuz OneWeb 6. Launch time is 6:14 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It will launch from Vostochny Cosmodrome, Russia. Russian Soyuz rocket will launch 36 satellites into orbit for OneWeb, which is developing a constellation of hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband communications. And then April 26th is the Delta IV Heavy. Launch period is 3:39 to 6:57 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and this will launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. Again, go to spaceflightnow.com or spacecoastlaunches.com for more information on space launches for the week. This time I'll turn the net over to Brenda, WB50ZL, for recent astronomical discoveries. Brenda, the net is yours.
Thank you. This is WB50ZL. The title of this article is Using Exoplanets as Dark Matter Detectors. In a continuing search for dark matter in our universe, scientists believe they found a unique and powerful detector, exoplanets. In a new paper, two astrophysicists suggest dark matter could be detected by measuring the effect it has on the temperature of exoplanets, which are planets outside of our solar system. This could provide new insights into dark matter, the mysterious substance that can't be directly observed, but which makes up roughly 80% of the mass of the universe. We believe there should be about 300 billion exoplanets that are waiting to be discovered, said Jerry Smirnoff, a fellow at the Ohio State University Center for Cosmology and Astroparticle Physics. Even finding and studying a small number of them would give us a great deal of information about dark matter that we don't know now. Smirnoff co-authored the paper with Rebecca Lean, a postdoctoral researcher at the SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory at Stanford University. Smirnoff said that when the gravity of exoplanets captures dark matter, the dark matter travels to the planetary core where it annihilates and releases its energy as heat. The more dark matter that is captured, the more it should heat up the exoplanet. This heating could be measured by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, an infrared telescope scheduled to launch in October that will be able to measure the temperature of distant exoplanets. If exoplanets have this anomalous heating associated with dark matter, we should be able to pick it up, Smirnoff said. Exoplanets may be particularly useful in detecting light dark matter, Smirnoff said, which is dark matter with a lower mass. Researchers have not yet probed light dark matter by direct detection or other experiments. Scientists believe that dark matter density increases toward the center of our Milky Way galaxy. If this is true, researchers should find that the closer planets are to the galactic center, the more their temperatures should rise. If we would find something like that, it would be amazing. Clearly, we would have found dark matter, Smirnoff said. Smirnoff and Lean proposed one type of research that would involve looking close to Earth at gas giants, so-called super Jupiters, and brown dwarfs for evidence of heating caused by dark matter. One advantage of using planets like this as dark matter detectors is that they don't have nuclear fusion like stars do, so there is less background heat that would make it hard to find a dark matter signal. In addition to this local search, the researchers suggested a search for dark red rogue exoplanets that are no longer orbiting a star. The lack of radiation from a star would again cut down on interference that would obscure a signal from dark matter. One of the best parts of using exoplanets as dark matter detectors is that it doesn't require any new types of instrumentation, such as telescopes, or searches that aren't already being done. As of now, researchers have identified more than 4,300 confirmed exoplanets, and an additional 5,695 candidates are currently under investigation. Gaia, a space observatory of the European Space Agency, is expected to identify tens of thousands more potential candidates within the next few years. With so many exoplanets being studied, we will have a tremendous opportunity to learn more than ever before about dark matter, Smirnoff said. All right, that's it. This is from ScienceDaily.com. Back to that, WB50ZL.
Okay, thank you very much, Brenda. All right, for information on visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, you can go to www.heavens-above.com to find out what's in orbit and where to look for flyovers. This time I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll do a final check-in round and let me know what the final count is for this evening. I'd appreciate it. So to KE5ICX from KF5PDS.
And this is KE5ICX. My name's Tom, and I'm alternate net control for this evening. So, for Skynet, by the way, in case you didn't know, I'll take additional final check-ins this evening. If you'd like to be a part of tonight's net, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
Kilo India 5, Golf Bravo Tango, Chris in Godley, Texas.
We picked up one more. I got KI5, a Golf Bravo Tango. That's Chris in Aubrey, Texas, over on Echolink. Anyone else? Please come out. for check-ins this evening. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Great, copy that. Do we have any checked-in stations that have any remarks or questions for this evening's net? If so, please come now with your call sign. So tonight we had 24 hams participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5.org. You can follow topics and discuss net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5 PDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:28 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And remember to tune in right after this net for the Afterglow movie net for this discussion of the movie Metropia. 73, everybody.
And we'll be back to do Metropia, movie from 2008 about the distant future of 2024 in about 5 minutes. And we'll be looking for a net control to be the canary in the coal mine, to be the net control for this net. So be back here in about 5 minutes or so. We'll see you then. This is KE5I6.
W5FC.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow movie net.
Okay, you know the drill. Who wants to be net control tonight? There's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You know you want to. You get to be world control. Who wants it? Please come now. Do I have to name people? You know, the televisions have cameras in them. None at all? Boy, oh boy. I expected Spartacus to step forward. But maybe not. Oh, how sad. All right, I'll do it. Even though I worked really hard on the last net, I'll go ahead and do it now. But you're going to have to wait another minute or two. This is KE5I6. All right, you're making me do it. That's okay. Let's see. What do we know? Today's date is April 4, 2021. My name is Tom. Tonight's movie is Metropia from 2009, which takes place in the distant future of 2024. Just thought I'd mention that. So, what is this net? Well, it essentially is we talk about a movie. What is the movie? Well, it is different every week, and we try and create new movies, although we're going to have a redo next week. I'll tell you about that later. But this one is one that took place, was made in 2009. It was an English language film, animated science fiction by Tariq Sella. I don't know. I think you could sell it, I guess. But in any case, it premiered at the 66th Venice Film International Festival in November of 2009. So here's the plot, and then I'll tell you what your job is. In a future Europe, the world is running out of oil. A gigantic underground network is created, joining all the undergrounds together. That means subways beneath Europe. Roger, played by Vincent Gallo, from a suburb of Stockholm, avoids the underground because he finds it disturbing. Sometimes when he is too near the underground, he hears a strange voice in his head. One day, Roger stumbles upon the truth that his life is being controlled in every detail. Trex, the company that runs the mammoth European rail network, has found a way to read and control minds using the dandruff shampoo Dangst, not to be confused with angst. This one has a D in front of it, with the goal of creating a highly efficient advertising system. In order to break free, Roger joins forces with supermodel Nina, played by Juliette Lewis, the former model and spokesperson for Dangst. Believe it or not, usually there are paragraph after paragraph after paragraph about story synopses, plot synopses, but not with this one. Now, was it a good film or was it a bad film? It's for you to determine. So, here's what we're going to do. We have multiple rounds of check-ins, and we have multiple topics. The first topic is, what did you think about the plot? Well, the first thing is, you got to check in and say, did you see the movie or not? Now, even if you didn't see the movie, that's okay, because essentially what we'll do is ask you about your favorite dystopian film. What made it so dreary and drab that you really loved it? That's a good one. And Blade Runner probably comes to thought and a bazillion other films. The first round then is talking about the plot. The second round is talking about the characterization, and the third round is usually special effects, music, whatever it is you want to talk about. It's sort of an open round. And that's about how long it takes. It's about an hour and a half long, although it could be less, could be more. Most of the time it's right at about an hour and a half. I don't know why. This movie is less than an hour and a half long, but you'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about it. So, let's go ahead and get started. I'll start with low-power short-time check-ins. That means if you got to go early, you got to go to bed, or your battery's dying, or you got to go to bed and your battery's dying, this is a good opportunity to check in. So please come with your call sign name. If you want to give me where you're checking in from, that's fine. Otherwise, let me know if you're low-power short-time and did you see the movie. Got it? Call sign, name, short-time, long time, low power, did you see the movie, which is called Metropia from 2009. Please come now.
This is K5ANE, Kane and Richardson. Yes, I saw the movie, and I'm coming in through a coat hanger.
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. Yes, I saw it.
Okay, I picked up two. I've got K5ANE, that's Kane over in Richardson. Yep, he saw the movie. W5EBB, David in Dallas. Yes, he saw the movie. Okay, I'll open it up to general check-ins. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from, your social security number, and did you see tonight's movie called Metropia?
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike Thomas from Euless. I did not see the movie. Based on the plot summation, I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Bravo to the Whiskey, James Weber. Eyes on the building.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James, Oklahoma. I saw the movie.
All right, let me go ahead and get those folks. I got KI5JCM, Thomas and Euless. No, you did not see the movie, but that's okay because we're going to ask you about dystopian films. Next up, KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. Yes, you saw the movie J. You may want to go to Echolink or increase power. You're real weak into the repeater tonight. And that's because you're so far away, but either way, your choice. KG5PM and James in Oklahoma. Yes, he saw the movie. One of our regulars. Any additional check-ins, please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from, and did you see Metropia?
WB5OZL, Brenda in DeSoto, and yes, I saw it.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw the movie.
All right, picked up WB5OZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. Yep, she saw the movie. KB5SOK, Shaun of the Dead in Fort Worth. He did see the movie. Any other check-ins before we begin? Please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from, and did you see Metropia? All right, normally I'd randomize, but I don't think I will tonight. We're just going to start at the top. We'll start with K5A&E, Kane, over in Richardson. You saw the movie. What did you think about the plot for Metropia from KE5ICX?
So, yeah, I don't really know exactly what to take away from this. It's definitely a very interesting kind of movie, and the plot, I mean, even the character himself, you know, he's largely along for the ride, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of the thing, right? This whole movie is about subways, and this guy is just kind of there, except for a few actions that he actually does end up taking in the end, but for the most part, he's just kind of experiencing things and seeing things and, you know, trying to make sense of it all. And, yeah, I guess actually it does make a bit of sense then as far as the subway, what's that term called? Yeah. Anyway, the MacGuffin, right? Because the subway is the MacGuffin, right? And the whole, that's the reason why any of this is going on is this subway, line. And, most people that experience the subway are just, along for the ride, and I don't know. Trying to make sense of a movie that doesn't really make a lot of sense, I guess. I don't know. K5A&E, back to net.
All right, thank you, Kane. That's one of your shortest soliloquies ever. So, we may be in trouble. All right, David may be able to pick up the slack. W5EBB, David in Dallas. Your thoughts on the plot for Metropolis? Metropia. Metropolis is Superman saying Metropia is a subway system. So, David, your thoughts. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Well, I need to say that I jumped the gun on the check-in. I'm actually not low power. or short time. So if you want to penalize me and put me at the end of the list, it's your call.
Oh, negative, negative. You are the cliff notes of all these movies, so your comments may help fuel others for inspirational comments. So by all means, please continue from KE5I6.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Well, the premise of this movie is an interesting one, kind of a logical extension of the goals of the technocratic era, but to graduate beyond mere surveillance and move on to control. It's similar to the premise as, the 2015 James Bond movie Spectre, and more vividly, the 1981 movie Scanners, and many other movies where everyone's under the control of the man. It's kind of summarized when Roger exclaims, "The public should know whatever it is they're doing. I'll contact the press, the authorities. I know it's illegal." And Nina replies, "Calm down, listen, they are the authorities. They control the governments, the media, and the public." Very much like Spectre. Now, the Asylum game, the game show, was interesting and kind of an interesting aside, and it's much like today's Ellen's Game of Games. It's over-the-top, puerile, using the UK pronunciation, bright and colorful video to maintain the attention of a dazed audience, watching contestants being rapidly hurled or dropped based on their correct or incorrect answers. Now that close-up scene of Roger washing his hair and the shampoo traveling along the follicle inside to his head, that was kind of weird. And it reminded me of the tiny organism in the alien movie Prometheus, which had the tagline, "Big things have small beginnings." And that same thing could be said of bacteria, viruses, and Dipylidium caninum. Let me reset after that. At one point, Roger muses to Nina about how he can't blame anyone for his life not turning out the way he'd hoped because it was just his own choices. But Nina says, well, what if they're not your choices? And in that regard, this movie is similar to The Truman Show, where Jim Carrey was also unable to make choices to influence the events and direction of his own life. And in The Truman Show, it was an entire cast and crew in on it. Truman's world was indeed a stage, and all the people he thought he knew were merely players. But in this movie, the influence and suggestive power came from a single voice, the in-voice controller, Stefan, who was assigned to Roger. But overall, I think this movie was fairly original, though there certainly are instances of art imitating art, or art imitating life, or vice versa. In today's virtual world, it's getting harder to distinguish or choose between the two. W5EBB.
Very good. Thank you, David. And I figured you would have some very good comments about it and some direct quotes. But the one thing that came out of this is that his brain was soft and shiny thanks to the shampoo. Next up is Thomas, KI5JCM. Thomas, I know you didn't see the movie, but does this sound like any sort of dystopia you've heard before, and does this make you disinterested? That's a play on words. What do you think? Would you watch it or not? From KE5I6.
KI5JCM. It's not that original of a premise if you're a lifelong sci-fi geek like me. My favorite dystopian feature probably is Fritz Lang's Metropolis from 1924. It was probably the first sci-fi epic film, and what Lang did was so far ahead of its time, you need modern CGI to actually make his screenplay work. The concept here of absolute control reminds me a lot of a short story called 8:07 a.m., and they made a movie off of it called They Live, Rowdy Roddy Piper. The movie, kind of forgettable, but similar themes. The idea is everyone is controlled, and in the story, I've read the original short story, it's an Isaac Asimov one, a guy who's, the entire world is under subliminal control, and one guy randomly wakes up. It's something odd neurologically, a guy named Hollister, and at one point, he gets a phone call that says, you will die at 8:07 a.m. tomorrow morning. And he tells himself, I will not die at 8:07. I will not die at 8:07. And in the course of the next 24 hours, he wakes up several other people who manage to see through the subliminal suggestion. And the next morning, he dies at 8:08 a.m. The implication being change and revolution often starts very small and slowly builds into larger things. The movie They Live, the glasses that let you see through the alien brainwashing are called Hollister lenses and named after the guy who managed to live 1 minute longer. That's a really good concept for it. Hang on, let me reset. But all in all, the everybody mind-controlled kind of dystopian future, we've had those movies since the 60s. I mean, and I think they've been done better than the way this one describes it. I mean, films like, as I'm going through the library here, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is based off of a story by Robert Heinlein. I'm a sucker for the classics. What can I say? When you don't have CGI and fancy animation, you have to focus on story. And so many of the modern dystopian ones, the story is just lazy and copy-paste from better movies. So yeah, no, I'm not really inclined to see this one. I may look it up on Wikipedia, but if I want dystopian future, actually I was just watching the original Mad Max earlier tonight on television, and that tends to be my bailiwick. So those are my thoughts on the plot. Back to you, Net Control, KI5, JCM.
Thomas, amen. I love your comments, and I'm going to go look for They Live just because you mentioned it, and you sound like a deeply embedded science fiction fan like all of us, even though we watch bad films and sometimes good films, but mostly bad films. But I appreciate your comments, and I've actually put an asterisk by your comments, and we'll go forward with that. Yeah, Mad Max is a favorite of mine as well. And you gotta love it. I mean, I think you're right. I'm just going to kind of make my comments a little bit now, and that is that the well-worn dystopian future, actually starting going back, your choice of Metropolis is just perfect. You know, when I talk about dystopian future and stylistically cool, that's the one. So I love your comments on that. But I'm going to check into They Live. I think this would be very, very interesting. Maybe not a great film, like you say, but maybe not a bad film. All right. We'll come back to you. Excellent comments. And you'll never watch this film, but you're still making excellent comments. KG5BZWJ, near Weatherford. Let's see. You're over on Echolink, too. So you may want to try the Echolink connection. You're a little weak in that you're at the end of the string nearly every week. But sometimes you make it great, and other times not so much. This is a not so much moment unless you increase power to 5 million watts, and I think we'll hear you. So, Jay, your thoughts on the plot for Metropia from 2009 from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. Yeah, I didn't, okay, first impression after watching it, it was a animation style and such of a plot to use it. It was, somebody came up with an interesting kind of unique, kind of different. I don't know if that's totally different animation style. They wanted to have a story with it, and I don't know. This is what they came up with. That's kind of what I feel about this film. Story-wise, yeah, there's just some kind of, it's just kind of missing something. It's, I don't know, I don't want to call it a terrible film. I don't think it's terrible. I certainly won't say I hate it. Was it a waste of time? I don't know. the aspects that they stole from, well, I maybe shouldn't say stole from, say, actual, what do you call it? I don't know what you call that genre. It's more, there is a term for it, just to have criminal slash, darn, I should have looked this up. The criminal conspiracy, whatever. I've seen those in other films too, but I thought that was actually a little bit better than the actual plot about Dank's shampoo being mind control substance. I thought that was just really lazy. Kind of like the idea, like the aspect of the guy just the whole thing really just happening to him, and this was just his story of what happened. That, I don't know. I'm sure there's other films that do that. Maybe it's just one of those things. I'm sure there are, but I like that description David gave earlier. I'm not sure what else to say because I don't know. It's one of those films that I kind of go meh about, I just can't really hate it, but I don't really like it. So, and I feel like maybe there was something else I could say, but I just can't think of it. So I'm just going to head back to net control. KG5 easy go.
I'll call that somewhere down the middle of the road, meth. Not meth, meth. So let's see here. Let's go to James. James, KG5PMN. You saw the movie. What did you think about the plot from KE5ICX?
This is KG5PMN, James up here in Oklahoma. I guess the plot had a start to finish on it, and it flowed, from start to finish, however, what kind of finish they had come up with. But the way it was filmed, made it real difficult for me to actually watch it, kind of thinking it's in that dark gray mode, without very much color. He would go from place to place, and it was always kind of on the dark side, and instead of filming a building, from the outside and showing him going into the building in daylight, he just kind of seemed to hop around too much, and made it rather difficult to follow what he was doing or where he was or what was going on, and the animation kind of made it difficult to watch also, in my opinion. But I guess it is what it is. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
All right, James. Well, your comments suggest that Brenda probably picked this movie out because you know how she is when picking movies. Let's see. Brenda, WB50ZL, your thoughts on the plot. Tonight's movie, Metropia, from actually 2009. 2009. It says 2008. It was made in 2008, but it was 2009. It takes place in 2024. So, who am I to judge? Brenda, your thoughts on Metropia's plot?
This is WB5OZL. Did I choose this? I don't remember choosing this. Well, this is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. It was just unnecessarily dystopic. And I've seen a lot of dystopian movies. Basically, people aren't even people anymore. There's just nothing to live for. There's no joy, there's no art, there's no jewelry, or Hawaiian shirts, music, flowers, graffiti in the subway. They're just basically gray people with utterly meaningless lives. And we don't really know what he does for a living, but it's pretty dreary. I don't understand the point of the guy in his head, because they watch them on monitors and they spy on them, and they follow them around and keep them on track all the time. What is the point of the guy in the head? And the voice in the head even wasn't so much controlling as he was just kind of playing cat and mouse. He didn't make subliminal suggestions. I mean, how much more could they control him than they already do? I didn't understand the whole point of this. I understand they're making money selling product. So they got a monopoly. Why do they need to push this so much? Just move on. And nobody goes outside. You can't ride your bike. I don't know why you had a bike if you can't ride it. So the sky's gray, the buildings are gray, everything is gray. And I don't know why they had to get on the train anyway. They could all work at home like we do. And it would be a lot more pleasant. So I guess my basic feeling is it's contrived. They want to make a movie about people being controlled, so they create this thing with a shampoo, and it's just a vehicle. And it didn't exactly have the heart of usual dystopian movies. There's a reason why it's dystopian. They've destroyed the atmosphere, or there's a very despotic government. There's all kinds of reasons why you have sunk into dystopia. But I didn't see the reason for that. They said, well, all the oil is gone. Well, find another alternative. Other than just having subways. The fact that they had to have these subways doesn't really explain why everybody is so poor. So it's not a place I'd want to live. I mean, human beings, tens of thousands of years ago, they crawled into a cave and painted pictures. Art is within us. What happened to it with these people? There's no joy, there's no art, there's no music, there's no beauty. So you almost can't relate to these people. All right, that's all I got for now. WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brenda. And this is KE5ICX. We're talking about the movie Metropia from 2009. Changed it is 2009. Next up is Sean, KB5SOK. Sean, you did see the movie. What did you think about the plot from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. As everybody said, this kind of plot's been done and done better. The overall concept, I think, could have been good. I don't think they really executed it properly for this kind of film. And in the way that they presented it, I realize it was supposed to be drab and what have you, but it really kind of just came off creepy, and not like creepy in the scary way. Creepy just isn't creepy. Almost a disturbing point at times, it seems like. But it was very obvious they were playing off some of the fears that were going around 2008, 2009, 2010, with the whole TV thing. At that time, the camera built into the TVs was a very hot, supposed to be a selling point, so you could do Skype and that kind of stuff. But then as, I believe around that time period, when it was discovered that some of the manufacturers were actually using it for inappropriate purposes, claiming it was for to see how the TVs were being really used, but they're really just spying on people. So I think that was about the time frame when that was discovered, and shortly after that, TV stopped putting cameras in them. So, which is probably a good thing, but I think they were playing off of that. I do think the game show part of it was kind of a weird side thing, but was surprisingly pretty well predictive of what actually is on TV now, and the fact that they made the point of how addicting it can be for these tiny game shows, and they are very popular right now. So they kind of hit the nail on the head on that one. But yeah, as far as the rest of the plot goes, it was just like I said, there was potential there. I mean, obviously, like I said, the mind control thing's been done before. The way they approached it, they didn't really explain it, how it exactly worked. I mean, they did kind of go into the point was, it looks like early on, controlling people was kind of an experiment for, later applications. And obviously, most of them were just test subjects at this point, not really doing much with it. So obviously, there was an end goal of making lots of money off being able to control people for, either selling stuff or doing stuff for the government or that kind of stuff. And then the daughter's plot to basically get rid of her father so she could take over the empire, and lying to our lead that no one's going to get hurt, but they did. And it was just strange how they approached it. The beginning I felt was very slow, kind of drug on. Once again, I realized that was kind of the point, to show it being a mundane world and boring. And and as he said many times in the film, he's just an average guy. But I felt they drug it out a little too long. That's I think pretty much all the parts that have been covered. So this is KB9 is okay. Back to that control.
All right, thank you, Sean, and good comments, because I kind of feel the same way. Do we have additional check-ins for the Afterglow Movie Net? We are talking about the 2009 movie called Metropia from Sweden, I believe. An English language film, no less. Wow, how about that? A dystopian society. You don't have to necessarily have seen the film because you've seen this film. It's dystopian and everything. But if you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the movie? All right, no problem. It's been kind of light tonight, all through the net. I'm not sure where everybody went. Maybe they went to their dystopian future. I'm not sure. But that's okay. My thoughts on the movie, I agree with everybody's comments so far, and that's pretty easy to say. This has all been done before. We've seen this all before, and we've seen it done better, I think, overall, whether it be 12 Monkeys or Blade Runner or... what's that film I'm trying to think of? Brazil, another one, which is what this movie reminds me of, but not as good. The plot really doesn't progress as well as it could. It's only a 90-minute movie, but it feels like it's 5 hours long because everything is so slow. The animation is almost distracting to me while watching it. I guess that's the special effects thing, but when you're watching it, you're going, everybody's got big heads, how come they don't fall over? So while you're doing that, you're not listening to the storyline, and then when you do listen to the storyline, you've heard this all before. I think the film is trying to be two things, trying to be this dystopian future science fiction thing, and at the same time it wants to be some sort of mysterious film noir. Okay, you can call it mysterious film noir all you want, but I saw Blade Runner, and Blade Runner kicks butt with Metropia by creating more interesting characters, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The story really plays out very, very slowly, and considering the fact that this is supposed to be in a metropia, meaning the underground connection between all the different cities that are all destroyed, it is kind of strange as to how the whole thing plays out, the interaction going underground and all that. I don't know. There was nothing there that made any sense to me. That the characters could keep running into one another underground in a chance meeting was kind of silly, I thought. And then finally that we're going to use shampoo as micro, I don't know what you call them. Let me reset. That you're going to use the whatever it is, the micro machines that you put into the body and be able to create this whole thing and be able to control people directly. All right, so what do? You pick certain people overall? Do you pick everybody? And if you do, you got some guy sitting in front of a typewriter and an old black and white TV set, and he's going to do all this stuff, 1984 style, and you need a bazillion million people to do it? Okay. Was it set up so that Roger was going to go and meet the shampoo girl who was going to make it all work? Nina, I guess? I don't know. It just seems so far-fetched in so many ways. And then in the process, nobody becomes extraordinary. Roger is now I'm getting into plot, into storyline, characterization. I'll get it right. You know what I'm talking about. They were all dull, and they phoned in their performances, the animated characters and the regular characters. So I don't know. I think it could have been, it had potential. It had a really good idea, I think. But when you go down that well-worn path of dystopia and people just being indifferent, well, gosh, come work for my company. Indifference is really kind of the theme in all of this, and even though they managed to come out ahead, there's still an indifference. But then every once in a while you get this wonderful blast of color, and people are happy, and it wakes up the audience, and I don't know. I think dystopian futures wear a little grim, and I mean with a capital G, R-I-M. And as such, we've seen this all before, and that's been mentioned by everybody so far. Anything new? The bicycle was nice. All right, this is KE5ICX. I'm going to go to the top of the list. We'll talk about characterization. I have a feeling we'll assassinate these people. So we'll start with Kane, K5ANE. Kane, your thoughts on characterization for the movie Metropia? Go ahead.
So, yes, I mean, this is, like they're trying this whole, dystopian, noir kind of style and everything else. And, but honestly, the thing that I find most sad and dreary about the whole thing is, despite the fact that the main character plays this incredibly pivotal role in, blowing up the big conspiracies building and things like that, and teaming up with the lady and all this, it really kind of seems like, in the end, like, nothing's really changed, except for he's refound his love for his partner. That's about, like, the only thing, that really changed on this. Aside from some weird, creepy bad guys got blown up. But yeah, I mean, in the end, it almost seems like the lady's probably stepping into the same role that her father was at the end, and is essentially, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It seems like the woman, I forget her name now, the blonde-haired lady, the one from the ad. She starts off seeming like this activist kind of person, but I don't know, there's just something about the way that she gave that press conference at the end that really kind of seemed like things are still business as usual in the end, and just now that she's the one in power. So, yeah, overall, it's, as far as the rest of the characters, let me think of the rest of the characters real quick. Yeah, I don't know. All the character designs and whatnot were just, very strange. I have to say, when it came to the main character, the side profile was the weirdest. Like, it wasn't so much of his face or anything like that, but just like the way his skull was from the side profile is just, I don't know, that really creeped me out the most. But yeah, I was trying to think of other characterization things to mention. Can't think of too much tonight. That's probably the reason why I didn't want to do net control. I'll be more interested in that next week. Back to net. This is K5 Annie.
All right, no problem, Keith. We all have those moments, especially when the movies are sort of like, what do you do with it? And what do you get out of it? I think the worst one we ever had was Primer, trying to figure out that time travel thing with multiple loops. That was probably the toughest movie we ever watched, but hey, whatever. All right, next, David, help us out of the wilderness, W5EVV, your thoughts on characterization for the movie, what the hell did we watch? Metropia. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Well, all the characters were very dull, you know, just in their appearance, in their presentation, and in their minds. But there was a little bit of a clue as to why they might have been that way. There was an obvious nutcase in the subway complaining to anyone who would listen that there used to be seasons. What happened to the seasons? You know, there's no sunlight. This was supposed to be said in 2024. You know, when natural ordinances like seasons are modified, all hell can break loose. So we can infer that maybe their collective long-term memory had been wiped or significantly impaired, you know, either by the shampoo product or just by their environment. Now, Kane honed in on exactly the same thing I did about the duality of Nina. So I'll talk about her. It's interesting how, first of all, she had so much sway over people she interacts with. For example, the guards at the Danks factory just let her in, along with Roger. It seemed that once people recognize her and associate her with the face of the Danks shampoo bottle, you know, where they comment, oh, she's beautiful, it seems like they've been programmed to be mesmerized by her visage. Sort of a transference took place when they see her in person, and they suddenly become very, very happy and trance-like. That, or they recognized her as being the big boss's daughter. Whichever, they are very impressionable and very amenable to doing whatever she asks. And in the end, we do find that Nina was pretty ruthless. She must have gotten it from her daddy. In a sort of Kathleen Turner body heat sort of way, she feigned her romantic interest for both Roger and Parker. Let me reset. She ended things with Parker very decisively after he had served his purpose and, quote, lost his function. She did choose to save Roger, who must have engendered a modicum of endearment from her because of his gentleness, exemplified by Roger saving Stefan's pet fish all the while he was running for his life. And regarding Nina, again, like Prometheus, the daughter was vying for control of Daddy's business. Charlize Theron failed, but Nina succeeded. From the root of the snake will come forth an adder. It wasn't entirely clear at the end during the post-explosion press conference if Nina was going to reform or change anything, as Kane had noted also. All along, she wanted to assume control and replace her father as the chairman of Trex. But whether she was going to reform it and promote and implement her own, maybe unscrupulous projects was unclear. In the Hunger Games trilogy, Julianne Moore turned out to be no better than Donald Sutherland. It was certainly a power play, and she manipulated people in the right way to get what she wanted. I think she was of the school of thought that something is right or wrong not because of ethical or moral considerations, but something is right if it achieves your desired goal, and it's wrong if it doesn't. W5EBB.
Oh, thank you, David. I wish in college I had you as a roommate because you could help me through all this stuff. Excellent synopses and comparisons, analysis with other films. Next up is KI5JCM. Thomas, if you're still out there, I think you may be. Your thoughts? Have you heard this before? I think you have. Characterization. What makes a good dystopian protagonist? Maybe that's a good question. From KE5ICX.
Net Control, KI5JSAM. You have really two options you can do in a dystopian future. You can have, well, a few, but either you can you garner and develop a glimmer of hope, and you go out on that, or you build it up and crush it to kind of convey the down under, why everyone is so crushed kind of thing. But you always want to leave at least some bit of hope. I mean, Brazil is a movie I thought of about this. At the end of Brazil, yes, everything, all the heroics may have happened in his head, but it might not have. We don't know. It's left to interpretation. Metropolis engenders hope in that Fred Fredersen, who felt he had no purpose, discovers that he is the mediator between the foreman and his father, the architect. If anyone's wondering, Metropolis is where that line about there can be, without the heart, there can be no understanding between the head and the hand, that's where it comes from. Your characters have to have a journey. Just, things are bad. We do some things. Things may get better. Your characters have to go on a journey. They have to grow. They have to experience new things. I mean, if you're gonna do the meet the old new boss same as the old boss thing, it's a lot. I'm trying to remember a good place I've seen it done where, but nothing's coming to mind, but where there's the big revolution, everything goes through, and at the end, your hero realizes how hard it is to be the new boss and to do things differently and better. That's a great question to go out on. This just, again, the more I hear about the characters, your characters should be people your audience wants to get to know. And when your audience just goes, there's no point. Hang on, let me reset. And the fact they didn't develop the villain, a good villain, I mean, just a evil corporation, oh gosh, that's like every animated film, every environmentalist film, it's been done to death. The villain you can relate to who faced understandable situations and took the wrong path is far more compelling. You know, what if it was, toss something in like the shampoo company did this because there was war, the shortage of the oil was going to lead to Mad Max, and this was their solution to the problem, and things got out of hand and went further and further down the road. That would be interesting. You know, if it turns out the main character is slowly developing an immunity to the shampoo, and that's why the daughter finds him, and this is all part of her overarching plan, because she's ruthless, but she does have more heart than her father. That would be an interesting character. This just sounds, the one thing your character should never, ever, ever be is boring, and this just sounds like a snooze fest. Maybe we should do They Live next week. It is a good, bad movie. I mean, yes, they had to throw in a fight scene between the two heroes to make it reach the proper length. Otherwise, it was a slightly longer episode of The Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits. But it made some good points. Plus, it had the great immortal line from Rowdy Roddy Piper, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum." And with that, back to you, Net Control, KI5JSAM.
Thomas, that's brilliant. Actually, you make excellent points. You know, your protagonist has to move on. He has to break through. He has to make something better happen. And in this case, the story, you know, takes it in a very small way, and I guess maybe he does progress, but not as much as we would like to see, so I don't know. Maybe small victories in the end. The film you're recommending, is it They Live, or is this a different film? Because I got caught up in your comments. The film you think we should watch next?
The film I was suggesting is They Live, but small can be done really good. The story I was referencing, 8:07 o'clock a.m. That's the whole point of it, is that our hero, all he does is he manages to resist for 1 minute, and he wakes a few other people up to what's going on. And the whole point Asimov is trying to make is that little things can grow and grow and grow. And the book leaves you, the story in both of them leaves you with hope. And dystopian fiction is best done to criticize the current condition, but to convey that small ounce of hope. And if you really don't have that hope, it's just depressing. But anyway, They Live, starring Rowdy Roddy Piper. I believe it was 87. Back to you, Net Control, KI5, JCM.
All right, thank you, Thomas. I've taken and I've asterisked it, and I'm going to go look for it. I think that is an excellent choice, and Isaac Asimov is a favorite author of mine for many years, and the bazillion books that he wrote were all very, very interesting in so many different ways. All right, let's see here. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Your comments on characterization. What did you think about these folks? Did they live up to the dystopian dream that didn't exist? From KE5I6.
Well, it's kind of hard to think of anything that ought to be said after those. David and Thomas said their thing. And also, I just want to say, They Live is actually on my personal list of movies I've not watched, but I really want to watch. And yeah, I know it could be, a good. It's I guess his classification of it as a good bad film. I realize that it's worth that. It's a risk that risk I'm willing to take. So yeah, I endorse at some point of watching it because it's on my list. And it's like one of these days I'm gonna watch it, and it'd be nice to watch it for the. But anyway, this group. The whole thing with Nina. There's the whole the French originally apparently French thing. I don't know where it comes from. I had to Google, and I couldn't really get too far into it. And more things change. More they stay the same. There's that theme, and I think they're supposed to get kind of the overall theme is, well, okay, he can't really change the whole world, but he could change his. At least that's what they were going for. I don't know that. And I've already said talked about the problems of the film, and the whole plot. I don't know. I really don't know that I can beat what Thomas just said earlier or add to, because it's like, yeah, we know in some form that saying is true, but we still got a film to actually care about or not care about, and it's really hard to care about this film. So, yeah, it's I will actually agree. I found the animation form interesting in some ways. It was distracting too. And some of the characters were just, well, actually, I don't know. Just a lot of the characters were really kind of stereotypes.
that there just wasn't too many interesting people here. Nina was kind of interesting, but in the end, because she turns to be out to be someone that may not be the person we thought she was, that actually makes me lose interest in her. And so, the one really interesting character, I suppose the protagonist of the film is not her, but, can't remember his name. I can remember the name of the character that was, his mind's, oh crap, the inner monologue that wasn't an inner monologue. That character, I can kind of remember Stefan, but I can't remember the actual character. Actually, I'll take that back. Stefan was kind of interesting just for the fact that he chose the main character, which I can't think of, for fairly superficial reasons. But, he did kind of care for the main character as long as also being, caring for his own self. But there's a slight kind of altruism to him, both him and I guess the main character, because, the main character also, had Stefan had the fish, but the main character saved the fish, because, But, actually, I don't think I really have anything else to say. Heading back to net control, KG5BCW.
All right, thank you, Jay, and save the fish. I got that written down for later. Next up is James, KG5PMN. Tell us about characterization. What did you think? The movie we're talking about is Metropia from 2009. Go ahead, James, from KE5ICX.
This is KG5PMN. Characterization, I don't know. I really didn't think that much about characterization. They didn't seem to, I guess the animation in the thing didn't make them seem lifelike. It showed a lot of his close-up of him or upper body shots of him, and they were just kind of rigid and not very lifelike and almost one-dimensional to me. There was one shot of him, I believe, riding an elevator down, and with him framed in the elevator, it made me think of looking at somebody's grandfather hanging over the fireplace in the picture, actually. There was just not much spark with any of the animation and the way the characters moved, and nothing that would draw me into finding that somebody that I really wanted to identify with, or have a champion for as the way they were acting in the movie. Back in that case, G5PM.
All right, thank you, James. And next up is Miss Brenda, WB50ZL. Your thoughts on characterization?
This is WB50ZL. Well, I guess the characterization is good because they achieved perhaps their purpose to make these people boring and dull and not attractive and uninteresting. and they certainly did that. There just wasn't much, meat on that bone. The woman was pretty, but she looked like a mannequin. Just no emotion and no reaction to anything, and he was just kind of a sad sack. There just wasn't any passion there, and that disturbed me. Maybe that's exactly what they wanted, but it doesn't leave for sympathetic characters to me. You don't care about them, and when they're done, it's like, oh, so what? They're done. So, and the girl, you really didn't know what she was about. You couldn't quite figure her out. And the guy also, what's his motivation? What does he like? What does he want? And I didn't see much there either. So, yeah, and his girlfriend maybe was better than the other two, but still, everybody's just so one-dimensional. And so, it left me feeling kind of empty. Okay, back to net, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX. We're talking about Metropia from 2009. Next up is Sean, KB5S. Okay, Sean, your thoughts on characterization for this movie?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I mean, everybody's said it pretty well. Very one-dimensional characters to the point that, yeah, you didn't really give a whole lot of care of really rooting for any of them. Just because they were, yeah, like I said earlier, you need to be able to root for somebody or have some kind of positive outcome. And yeah, our main character really, he wasn't in control at the end. He was still doing what he was told. So I'm not really sure he even learned any kind of real lesson there at the end, other than, yeah, maybe he kind of appreciated his girlfriend maybe more, even though she was also too very, drab and one-dimensional. Yeah, the most interesting character maybe was the fish. At the end, at least it lived, so there's a positive, even though I'm not quite sure how he kept the water in the fishbowl, but yeah, it might be the most interesting character. Yeah, and I know it's kind of falls into special effects, but once again, the way just they did the animation kind of plays into the characterization, and even that was very one-dimensional, and it was, which was mentioned about, just the weird large heads and large hands, and I'm not really sure what they were going for. I know this was supposed to be an art kind of film, but I think it was distracting a lot of times, and it was kind of hard to really follow the characters. It didn't really add anything to the, because when you have live actors, you can see their body movements and their gestures and their facial expressions really add to the character and what they're thinking, what they're doing. And this film didn't really do that. In a couple of scenes, they had some exaggerated face movements, but for the most part, just everything across the board was just bland, and it was really hard to kind of really root for anybody in this thing. And I'm not going to give specifics about each person because I think that's been pretty well covered. But yeah, once again, hey, the fish lift. This is KB9SOK, back to net control.
Oh, Sean, I think you summed it up perfectly. Before we make any comments, let me go ahead and ask for any additional check-ins before we go on to the next round. If you'd like to join us this evening, we're talking about Metropia from 2009, a dystopian film. You don't necessarily have to have seen it. If you got something to say about dystopian films, now is the time. Characterization, plot, whatever, late check-ins. If you're one of those, please come in with your call sign and name. No one wants to talk about this film except our core group. All right, I'll make my comments. I'm going to go on to other comments about this film, and I think that Sean really hit on the essence of this film, which is it is a, I don't know, you can call it a cartoon, animated, rotoscoped, whatever it is, with characters with overly big heads, like something out of South Park or something, which puts it off to a certain degree because of that alone. The story does not develop in a way that makes any sense. Characters don't change enough that we care, because in the end, we as people watching a film that we pay money for, or not, but we're watching something, we're investing our time. We want to see something that elevates the everyman, makes that person triumphant. And in this case, it was a small victory for our protagonist, but in the end, it was a very small victory. It wasn't enough to really get people to belly up to the bar and say, I want to do that. Most of us have already done that or tried to do that in the end. So it kind of has characters that we don't care about. And the one character, the shampoo girl, we thought, okay, this is going to be great. She's going to, it's going to work out for him. And then we find out that she's duplicitous in her behavior. And then we find out she's indifferent at the end. Gee, yay. That's somebody you want to root for. That's like, somebody, another relative at Ford Motor Company rising to the top immediately and saying, I'm here to help. No, not really. You're here to help yourself. So it's kind of tough to, discombobulate the thing and try and make it work and make it function in a positive way. And it's really tough with the film. I think it was more of an art house film in the sense that it was trying to, display the possibilities of films and how they could work forward. But we'd already seen that. We saw that with many films. So coming in 2008, if this had been 1988 or maybe 1978, and you did the same sort of thing, it would have been a landmark film. But we had seen so many films that were so well done, and even ones that were not well done, but memorable, that somehow or another this was going to be a breakthrough film. It was not. Maybe it was in Europe. Was it Sweden? I forget where it was written. Yeah, that might have helped. I thought too that using the characters and creating, and now I'm kind of falling into special effects a little bit, they used real faces of real people and then turned them into something else. I felt like I was watching, for those of you who remember, Clutch Cargo. It felt like a Clutch Cargo thing, and it was somewhat superficial, very two-dimensional. There wasn't a lot of, expansive things going on. Granted, it was a lower-budget film, but somehow or another, you gotta strike out in a bold new direction, and that never happened. It was a circular firing squad, is what it was. You wanted this thing to be better, and it never got really better. And that's what makes this film frustrating. For me personally, there's a lot of films that, if you go 1 to 4 stars or 1 to 5 stars, there are many films that I've seen through the years that end up 3 or 4 stars and not the blockbuster best thing ever, that are interesting films. Like, for example, Being There is a film that is quite a throwaway film for most people, but it is an instructional film about people and how they end up in positions and how they go on. And that sometimes people who accidentally fall into positions end up being kind of angelic. They become important in the end. And the character, as trite as the character may seem, ends up being almost godlike at the very end of the film. He walks on water. None of that happens in this. There's not even a feeling, I don't know, what I would want to end up and say I lived happily ever after in that gloomy world. Maybe, but there was nothing about it that suggested or made that seem happen to me in a way that I would go back and watch the film, except to say, well, maybe I can pick up something for the next South Park the movie, maybe. So I guess in a way I'm now getting cynical about the film. It looked interesting. It started out promising, had everything going for it, I thought, and then it leaned heavily on the 1984 vibe and the washed out color vibe, and in this case the disinterested characters, which is where we're at, vibe, that you're sitting there going, I think I want to stick an ice pick in the side of my ear, because this is not going anywhere that really feels positive, and you need that. So, I don't know. I go on and on, but I think there's something wrong with this film. Some of the ideas and how they were approached were interesting, but it didn't develop. You want to see a good film that does this sort of thing with Dystopian and has a satisfactory but frustrating ending? Watch Blade Runner. That's a really good cinematographic film that does what it's supposed to do, and you actually care about the characters even in their understated environment. That is what this film was maybe trying to emulate but couldn't make happen. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to anybody, anywhere who has additional comments, special effects, music, storyline, something you forgot to say earlier, whatever it is. Or if you're just checking in and you want to bring your 2 cents to the table, please come now with your call sign.
W5EBB.
All right, we got W5EBB. David, go ahead.
I think style-wise, the animation came closest to Jib Jab, where they composed actual, pictures of faces, sort of oversized bobblehead-like, pasted onto disjointed body parts. But I'd never seen it done quite this way, though. So it's like they took a static picture of profile or front view, and then they just kind of animated the mouth and the eyes, not real smoothly. But maybe that was sort of on purpose. I'm not sure. Now, we've talked about hope. That's come up several times, and the lack of hope in this one. Well, I think hope can be a double-edged sword. A hope without reason and an actionable plan to improve circumstances is just wishful thinking. And to an oppressor, promoting false hope is a great way to pacify people, enticing them to believe that change for the better is just around the corner. And from the Book of Wisdom, literally, fear is nothing but a giving up of the help that comes from reason, and hope, defeated by this inward weakness, prefers ignorance of what causes the torment. Now, Roger, I think, was content to embrace a small victory of securing his relationship with Anna with a clear head and absence of uncertainty about her sincerity and love for him. And this, again, was kind of arts imitating art, and as we were talking tonight, the movie Body Bags from 1993 came to mind. It's a 3-part anthology horror comedy by John Carpenter. It's not very good, but the middle one, called Hair, follows Stacy Keach as he receives a hair transplant that infests him with an alien parasite. His girlfriend, Sheena Easton, remember her, Morning Train? At first loves his new full head of hair, but his health soon begins to fail. It turns out those hair follicles were actually alien hair worms feeding on his brain. The surgeon explains that he and his entire staff are aliens from another planet seeking out narcissistic human beings, and planting seeds of hair to take over their bodies for consumption as part of their plan to spread their essence to Earth. Now, that's a plot that deserves to be repeated as it was here, right? Again, not a very good movie. A somewhat decent movie also kind of related to this plot line is called The Stuff from 1985. It's a delicious, mysterious goo that oozes from the Earth, and it's marketed as the newest dessert sensation. It looks like soft-serve vanilla, but the tasty treat converts people into zombie-like snackers who only want to consume more of the strange substance at any cost, and then they begin infesting the world. A B movie for sure, but the cast includes Paul Sorvino, Danny Aiello, Garrett Morris, and Patrick O'Neill. It's kind of like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets The Blob, only sweeter. The Stuff from 1985. W5EBB.
Okay, I5 is JCM.
Oh, Thomas, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you want to see a really good movie about an alien invasion, you will be very hard to top the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's worth it for, I just forgot his first name, Donald Sutherland's performance alone. It's actually based on a Robert Heinlein novella called The Puppet Masters. And that one did a really good job of a dystopian future and an alien with somewhat more depth. And, yeah, and they did a remake called Body Snatchers that's, while a B movie, it's a video rental. And it's not a bad way to kill time. It's reasonably entertaining and decently done. Back to you, Net Control, KI5 JCM.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, David. We've done Body Snatchers, but it's probably going to go on the repeat list because even the redo with Donald Sutherland, actually we did that one surprisingly just recently, probably in the last 6 months, and I love that movie. I love the original as well. I think they're fantastic. And David, I just wanted to mention, you should review movies for a living. There's something about your ability to just totally encapsulate an understanding of what's going on or be able to relate it to the ordinary audience is fantastic. So you're Cisco and Ebert, so just remember you're going to have to deal with both of them in your head, which is probably going on, and there's a guy in a room with a typewriter and a television set that's in black and white trying to rule your life. Okay, I'll go ahead and ask, are there any final comments before we close it out tonight? Please come with your call. None, that's okay. You know, it's been interesting. Tonight was kind of light. I guess. I think it was Mentor Fest this weekend. I didn't go, and I wasn't online or anything like that. So I think we had a lot of folks that kind of pooped out later on, and I didn't get my nap, so I'm not quite up to snuff like I normally am, which isn't much. But in any case. Staying up till midnight for an old guy like me is tiring. But I want to thank everybody who checked in tonight. Next week's movie is a repeat. It's a summer rerun. Why not? The Andromeda Strain from 1970, the Michael Crichton story, I think his first book that went to the bestseller list. We're going to watch the original movie. There was a remake, a 3-part miniseries they did. I don't know, 5-6 years ago, but I like the original the best, and so we're going to watch that again. That'll be next week. If you want to be on the list and you're listening in, send an email to me, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX @yahoo.com, and I'll put you on the weekly list. I send out the new movie on Sundays in case everybody falls asleep, which happens a lot. Or you can go to the Facebook page, which is Afterglow Movie, 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, and just sign up. And then there's, under the file section, are all the movies that we potentially watch, followed by
what's happening next week, and of course one of my wonderfully accurate synopses and links to the movies. And for those of you who are interested, some of us actually at 8 o'clock on Friday night, we watch the movies together through chat. So if you're interested in that on Facebook, just let us know. Facebook no longer allows watching movies together. That went away last Friday, in fact, or maybe this Friday now that I think about it. But with the links, you can go ahead and we just start going about, I don't know, 8:01, something like that, and watch whatever the movie is, and make disparaging and encouraging comments along the way. I want to thank everybody who listened in and everybody who participated. We'll see you next week. And next week's movie, The Andromeda Strain from 1970. 7-3, everybody. See you next week. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
Really good comments by everybody tonight. I really enjoyed the net. Good net, Tom. W5EBB.
KI5 GCM, I concur. Nice job.
I'll say this, this net is everything having to do with everybody contributing, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. And what keeps everybody up at late at night is do something like this. It's a lot of fun. All right, I'm gone. KE5I6.
KE5ICX, why do you sound so much like N5HYP?
I do? I sound like N5HYP?
I thought the guy that runs the AMSAT net had changed his call sign.
No, that's Tom. Actually, Tom has, and he has the same name as I do, except a different last name. Tom is, he used to check in on these nets late night, but I don't know. I think everybody gets weary and old and they have to go to bed earlier, and I'll be one of those very soon, if not already. No, he has had really great comments. If I can wake him up and get him to stay up late at night to do the nets again, this net, it'd be a lot of fun. Mr. Schussler is one of my favorite people.
We could see KI5 GCM not having a stroke. We could buy him a cup of coffee and slip in a little Adderall. That might help.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I am looking forward to, if we can ever get back and have contact with people, face-to-face contact. I like to do that. I have really missed out. Honestly, Tom's one of my favorite people, and when they do the Irving Hamfest and that, he's there. He's also a member of DARC, and he's come to meetings and that. And he's a character. He's a great sport. He's a good sport. You can do just about anything with him, and he will go in on the joke, or he'll have an interesting comment and retort and all of that.
Elvis?
He's a good guy. There's a bunch of people out there I like to see again. The radio has actually made it possible to talk to people over the long run, but still face-to-face, I think, is a big deal, and I would love to get back together. So I've had my second shot, so I'm about ready to go see people again, if they'll see me.
One of the good things that actually came out of COVID is, well, we as hams have been training for this for all of our lives, and a lot of other people got interested in ham radio as a result. I mean, I'm one of them. I got interested before COVID, but COVID really led me to embrace radio life. But like you, I'm a massive people person, and I really, really miss human contact. KI5, JCM.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. My feelings exactly. Well, I think we're getting closer to that. I cross my fingers and hope for the best. This thing has been so unpredictable and difficult to overcome, but I'm hoping for that. I do go into the office. I primarily I do most of my work at home these days and have for the last year. I do go into the office. I do a lot of video stuff and bazillions of other things, so a lot of our pricey equipment's in there, although I've got things set up. I'm looking at it right now to, if I have to in a pinch, I can put something together with HD and move it forward, and scripts and all that stuff, which is kind of, I'll explain that someday, but in any case, going into the office is a weird experience because I walk into an office where all the lights are off and end up doing pretty much the same thing I do at home, only with even less light than I have. At least I got some coworkers, a couple of dogs here to keep me company and get stuff done. But hopefully, ham radio has been one of those things where you can coalesce and work with others and work and play with others on stuff. Fortunately, the radio has helped to maintain some of that, and I like that a lot, but at the same time I kind of miss one-on-one repartee, pointing at other people and saying terrible things, well, good things about other people. You know, that's a little more difficult to do on the radio. Sure, you can call them up on the phone or to conference call or whatever. There's nothing better than eyeball to eyeball, I think.
W5FC.
I agree. I also really miss hugs. Handshakes. Handshakes are starting to come back, but yeah, I can't wait till we get this bug put under control and we get back to some semblance of normal and hopefully move forward with a new appreciation for our fellow men and women.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I got my second shot. I did the Pfizer thing and got my second shot last Tuesday. So supposedly, depending on, and who knows, there's boomerangs everywhere and little traps, floor traps and that, but I'm feeling a little better. And so if you go strictly by the numbers, paint by numbers thing, I should be pretty much in good shape on Tuesday of next week. So I'm happy that we've had that work, I think, and I hope going forward we appreciate this time. I think this has been defining moments. I won't pontificate or anything, but I will say that, I'll summarize that we've all been through a lot, and some way more than others in all of this, but I think we all come out with a better appreciation of humanity and ourselves and each other, and realize that, I don't know, civilization exists because we have to cooperate and work together. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too far on that one, but I think it's true. So, all right, I have to go to bed. I did not get my afternoon nap, which keeps me awake till 12 o'clock. I'm about ready to beat feet. But Thomas, thank you for checking in this evening. That was really great. Please come back next week. You had some great comments. Even though you didn't even see the movie, I think you did really great. KE5ICX.
Well, thank you. I certainly will. I usually intend to, but the last few weeks have had I either fell asleep in my chair or I had other things that came up, like a cute girl or something of that nature. But yeah, definitely. I am not a film critic, but I am a big fan of good storytelling. And you can count on me being back because Andromeda Strain, the original, is a very, very good movie. Not my favorite or anything, but I've got nothing bad to say about it. So I'll be more upbeat and joyously contributing next week, so you can see my bright side as well. Well, you get some sleep, my friend. I'm running on a Monster Energy drink and a Dr. Pepper, so I've got a little while to go, but I'm going to get some guitar practice and crash. Good job on net control. 7-3 and KI5 JCM will be clear on your final.
Thomas, you'll fit in great. All right, we'll see you next week. 7-3. Have a good evening. This is KE5ICX. I'm also clear.